Hello, hello, YouTube world. Well, I'm also live streaming right now at Twitch. I mean, just started, so no one's on, but I'm kind of just getting straight to it. I mean, I've been wanting to react to this video for like as soon as I saw that it came out. I really wanted to react to it. I knew this would be perfect, especially in after watching the one before. So yeah, just a lot of people just liking JR. They used to like Joe Rogan that are no longer fans or have their issues. So it's definitely a phenomenon. And yeah, Abba and Preach happen to also be some content creators that are, fans, that were fans of Joe Rogan. I'm trying to think, what was the first one? I can't even remember. Right, Mr. Beat. Like, I was blanking out his name. Yeah, Mr. Beat. And yeah, I also, yes, I happen to be fans of Abba and Preach as well. I know, kind of different. But I got what I gotta say. I got a taste of all sorts of random content creators and all sorts of topics. I like to try to keep it, I like to be keep interested in all sorts of different stuff. But anyways, I'm already like we're already a minute into me talking and no video, so let's just get straight to it. Let's see what these guys their issue is. And I agree. I think it was been yeah, for me it was probably Joe Rogan. Yeah, probably 13 years ago or so. Same here. Changed my life. He's been consistently in many ways, so and especially with the various guests he has on.
All right, you know what? Why don't we take a chance on something? I wrote a single sentence and I'm like, I think this is a topic. You ready? Joe Rogan changed my life, and it's embarrassing to say that I was ever a fan of the podcast.
So Joe Rogan saved your life.
Whoa! Changed,
See, yeah, that's what's that. So Joe Rogan saved your life,
changed,
and then
changed.
you want to.
I I see this is what I don't like. I don't like people get all like, "Oh, he saved your life." I don't. For me, yeah, definitely. Joe Rogan never like saved my life either. I know exactly how Abba what he's saying. I can already tell just from his tone because I'm pretty similar too. Just like, yeah, he's changed my life. He and not even necessarily him fully a lot of times. It's even just some of the times the guests he had on. Even like for example, the first time I heard about Sadhguru was from when he was on Joe Rogan. I'm like, who's this guy? And this was after I had started having issues with Joe Rogan too, mind you. I already had like started having some issues and like I don't like the direction. He started a little lean to just far right and because before like that he was a little bit everywhere and he's just kind of like his own dude in a lot of ways. Yeah, he had leanings in certain directions and for certain things, but he liked guns, but he liked weed, but he liked Anyways, let's
Call him
I
daddy.
don't want
call him daddy.
to.
Oh
See,
goodness.
I knew you was on some bullshit. As soon as that was saved word came out, you made it sound like I was a kitten in a box, and then so you found me at the bottom of a fucking dirt hill.
That's what you said.
So, anyways, like I was saying, daddy.
Oh, preach.
Yes, daddy.
This is what I love. This is why I love this
I
duo.
think
This is why I love
a
this
lot
duo.
of people right now have varying feelings about Joe Rogan. A lot of
Oh,
people hate him.
Rogan.
A lot of people
Yeah,
love him, depending on which aisle of the political spectrum you lie.
right.
My issue or my contention is not so much as the political stuff. I know a lot of people might not believe that. It's more so the actual essence of the podcast and how much that's drastically changed.
That's I
I
think a
used to
valid
watch Joe when I was
criticism.
like 21, so that's a good 13, 14 years ago. It's important to give the
Yeah,
context because at the time that I picked up on Joe Rogan, the internet was a completely different place. The
that's
idea of
true.
podcasts weren't a thing. People didn't even
I see.
they
I
used
didn't
to
even
mock
quite
it. They
get
used to
this
call it
far
really fucking
back when I
stupid.
started
There
watching him.
was
He
the
had
money in
already
it
been in the
at the
studio.
start of it. And it was also a time where there wasn't much information out there or people didn't know how to access.
I think this is what's interesting. I don't, and I think maybe that's something clear too. I don't know if I made it clear or understand. Like, especially Mr. Beat and I guess these guys, it seems like they've liked them even a little bit further back than I did because I didn't watch a lot of those initial podcasts. I didn't hear about him until a little bit later. He had already, like I said, I think he was in his first studio, whatever the first one is. I forget which L.A. location it was or whatever, but yeah. I don't know.
Information because the internet was so bare bones for quite some time. So when I first
Yeah.
stumbled on it, like Joe Rogan experience looked so different at the time. It was like so at first it started with him and Brian Redband on one camera. It was like a webcam. It was
Brian
horrible
was
quality.
around for
Yeah,
a
how's the
while.
quality? Sound, video wise? Does it sound alright? Can you see us alright?
just them talking. It
This is
was
pretty
all
much me
kinds
now.
of overlays of shit moving. It was ghetto as fuck. I
Yeah.
didn't watch that much too much. But the next iteration was the split screen era, and the split screen
I,
era
I didn't
was
watch
when
it at all.
him, Brian Redband, oftentimes another comic, like 95% of his guests were comics or MMA fighters. Why? Because at the time, that's the only people that Joe really had access to much. Even though he'd done Fear Factor, he wasn't the kind of person he is today where he has access to billionaires and everything in between. So it's just him and these guys. And I would listen to all these
He's
conversations.
doing pretty
and
valid,
what was
pretty
really
accurate,
entertaining for me
pretty
is I
accurate
would
so
see
far.
it
Yeah.
commercial television. It was the first time that I was just seeing guys just talk about stuff and talk about it candidly.
I
It
mean,
made
well,
me think of
from his
conversations I
description,
had
from
with
what I
people
remember
at
of that
work
time,
in
yeah,
my
that's
life, or
pretty.
conversations I wish I could
From
have
what I
on a
know,
more regular
yeah.
basis. So for me, it was very insightful. And his approach to a lot of things was like an extreme level of curiosity mingled in with a healthy dose of skepticism. And that last part's really
Yeah,
important. So
that is very
when I'm listening
important.
to him talk about, there's one video I'll never forget. It's like Joe Rogan on relationships, and I think it was him talking to his good friend Duncan Trussell. And here it is, just two guys
Ah,
who
yeah.
love mushrooms, psychedelics, and talk about life.
No,
Yep.
this guy was awesome, and he was one of the things he
Buddhist cat.
talked
I
about
think
is in
Joe is
some
his best
the
self when he's
religious
talking to
tradition,
Duncan.
how they like hold
Facts.
the
That is
scriptures.
so
They have the
true.
students hold the scriptures.
Oh, Buddha cat nailed it. I need to find that comment and like it because facts. Joe is definitely one as probably his best self when he's talking to Duncan. Duncan's such a good, and I think Duncan is as most entertaining when he's talking to Joe. So I think they really too they work they're boosted by each other. That's what's so beautiful. I think about. I feel like there's a wholesome, genuine, real friendship going on there, and let's say like I say, whatever you feel about their opinions or whatever, just those vibes. But yeah,
Scriptures over their
that
heart,
comment's so
and
true.
when they were memorizing them, and they would
Yep.
say, "Why do we do this?" And he said, "So that when your heart breaks, they'll fall in." And it's a beautiful idea, which is that heartbreak is actually your ego cracking. And the moment that cracks, you're in the experience of truth. And when you're in the
Oh
experience
yeah.
of truth,
I
that's when
forgot
you can
all
really
about this video.
become
I
who
forgot
you
about
are.
this one.
This is like something that I like that Ramdas says, which is like, if you don't feel like meditating, don't meditate. Don't force it. Don't impose this on yourself. Keep doing the thing you're doing that's upsetting you so much. Have the balls to keep doing the fucking thing that you're doing. Keep doing it. Society is going to tell you, don't be like this. Stop being like this. You have to change. That's what your parents always say.
saying.
The
Right.
idea is like, no.
Yeah, these
Sink
comments.
into what you are
I'm glad
right
this is
now.
smart
Just be
from the
that
video point
thing.
of view,
God forgive me, 'cause
putting
I've
his
quoted it way
comments
too many
down
times, but
as
it's
he's
better
explaining
to
all
be
this.
an honest street sweeper than a
And
dishonest
Trump
king.
and there's a lot
It's
of
better
people
to be
think
a
that I did.
happy guy brushing fucking
Sweet
leaves
suit
up
and then
the street
dishonestly.
than it is to be some zillionaire who inside is dying or
I
numb
love
or
how
miserable. Mostly numb. Numb's the word. Most people are just numb.
But as long as these people can quantify on paper, I still have a X million.
This
dollar
video
home.
it
My
probably
car
would be an
still has
algorithm
X
just
thousand
maybe of this
dollars.
video,
This suit is an X
like this
suit.
ABBA
I am still
video,
ahead.
ABBA Preach
I am
video
not
is in the
going to
algorithm.
abandon all these
This probably
things.
this
As
one
long
will
as
be
they
too.
don't see through the bullshit
Well,
of the game they think
Strictly
they're
is
winning.
this
They
is
have
one.
to fall.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like
Oh
they have to
yeah,
fall
this
to,
guy.
to really.
He was like
That's
he's
the
like
thing,
a
you gotta
like a
appreciate those moments
expert in
when it all
like the
falls
evolution of
apart
sex
because it means
and
you've got an
just
opportunity
evolution
to
of
try
sex
again.
and biology and
Close
stuff
with
like
your
that.
dad?
I never met my dad. You know,
Wow.
single parent. You never met my dad. So, thanks for bringing that up.
Does he?
I'm
I
kidding.
don't know
I'm
mine either.
kidding.
Mine's name is Joe Rogan.
Shit, he's out there
Yeah,
someplace.
he's out there. The
But
good
if-
thing is it made me
It's
realize
funny, I
you
just
can't
heard
count on
that
people,
I just
but
recently
you
heard that
can
apparently
count
the
on
trust
dad
people.
made a
issues.
Yeah,
TikTok
yeah,
and did
definitely.
a
That's
whole
trust
piece.
issues
It's
right
funny.
there. Become someone that
Had
people
issues
count
we
on
don't.
and count on people.
I
That's what you
agree,
do.
I have
yeah.
a tight group of friends.
I've been
Like,
lucky
me
personally.
and my friends are
Um,
very close.
I get
Like,
it.
I would do
Not that if
anything
I
for
had
friends.
hardships,
But-
but
And family too.
See,
I've
have
just
a
been
certain,
lucky.
There's a certain level of loyalty that I have because
It's
of
been
that.
a-
Because
it's
of
for
that,
me,
yeah,
it's been
when
a-
you understand it. Whereas
Yeah.
someone who grows up in a
Right.
big household filled with people and the
I think
family
that's
was
what
always
does
there
it.
and
You
everyone
guys
was
make
there, you
sense.
might
I'm
take
so
people
loyal
for
to my
granted a
friends,
little
but I'm
bit.
the only one.
My
Yeah.
daughter, my youngest was
I've
we were
been from it.
playing the other day in the pool, and there was a point in time we were just laughing about something together, just laughing, and I'm looking at her face and she's laughing, and I felt like I was on drugs. I was like,
Yeah.
the love that I have for these people is so intense. And
I
it's
gotta
also-
say though,
I didn't
this
get that when I was a
this
kid. I
video,
didn't-
this section,
you
this is
know,
like a very
same,
daddy
man.
sort of
If Joe just
dad
did that kind of stuff
sort
the
of
rest of his
thing.
life, most people look at it as like, okay, it's two hippies just yapping away, and you would move on for your day. But it was really interesting stuff. 'Cause
Oh,
for
that
me,
last
especially
one,
if
not
we're
so
gonna go
much.
back around the
No, no,
eye.
no, no, no. That last one, I could see that's a little bit of the seed, not like a full on like, oh, I'm conservative, I'm voting for Trump, but that is a little bit of that energy, those sort of thoughts, that sort of way of being, especially as a parent. If not, if though that could be used to lead toward. Not saying it is a guarantee, like, oh man, Joe Rogan's a dad and whatnot, so now he's a conservative. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying though is that is something that a lot of conservatives do use. Ah, thank you, Critical Hit Pro Zero. Thank you very much. I appreciate the follow. Very real. Thank you very much. I wasn't even expecting to have anyone come and actually watch this, so thank you very much. But yeah, like it's very heavy. So I get what they're going with this. This one, I get it, but at the same time, I would say that last one, knowing what it's kind of hindsight 2020. It's 2020, but like I could see how that would lead to like especially in a certain echo chamber. Oh, now I'm going this direction.
Came from. I never
But I
heard
know what you
anybody
mean.
in my whole life talk about
Especially
introspection.
the
I
other
never
two
heard
were
anybody
pretty
in my
good
whole life
examples.
talk about therapy. I never
And
heard
even in
anybody in
that
my whole
last
life
one,
talk
yeah.
about being incredibly selfless in the way that you approach relationships. These were all foreign concepts to me that were very much in line with, I think, a lot of the values that I wanted to embody, but I never saw in much of the media that I would watch. As a result, that podcast really opened my minds, and it taught me about a lot of things. And I credit Joe Rogan to some degree because after my father passed away when I was 21,
Oof, that's
psychedelics were
tough.
probably one of the best things I had for me to help me
Yo,
through that.
what's
It was
up?
very
Nice stream. Keep
therapeutic
it
to
up.
help me
Really,
to
play this game. I
really
would love to.
analyze what I had going on inside me and help me heal from it. I had some crazy experience as a result that
Full
really helped
tech.
me
Love
kind
the
of
king.
move past
All
that
right,
traumatic
I will.
experience. And so I credit it. And it's also the thing that put me on stand up. It's probably the thing that put me
Enjoyed
on
this game
Patrice
though.
O'Neill, Bill Burr, and a lot of these other people. And as a result, it kind
Follows
of
a
changed my
follow.
trajectory in life from straying away from the military towards more artistic endeavors. And so I credit the podcast a lot of times. And I felt always very proud of that because of the fact that what it did for me was so huge. And I never take
Sure.
that away.
So have you ever done DMT?
Like all of a sudden I'd be trying to prove that I'm not crazy when I knew I wasn't crazy.
Fast forward a couple of years later, there's a shift that happens,
That's
and now
funny.
Joe's podcast is picking up traction. It's not what it is today at all, or even close, but it's definitely getting more popular. And at this point, he's moved to a studio. It looks like a bit more of a professional setup. Now he's inviting all kinds of people who are experts in sleep, which was huge for me because I have sleep apnea, and it's probably one of the biggest things that influenced me to actually get the machine so I could start sleeping again. Because I ended up learning like just how fucked up it is when you don't get good rest. He'd have people that were like neuroscientists, people that are reputable, some quack scientists as well. But Joe was really expanding, and it was really interesting for me because it was conversations that I'd never seen elsewhere, and I was really enjoying it. And again, a lot of you are like, oh, you never saw these conversations? This is 2013, 2014. There was no places that they're having these conversations, unless it was some obscure TED Talk that you would never find. So yes, you have to give him some level of credit. He was one of the few, if only, people who were doing it and were relatively popular.
Of
and
course.
consistent.
Yes.
And then he would even bring on political people.
Yes.
And Joe,
All right,
as a
this was like the time I was really
self-proclaimed
into him too.
would
This
have
is
more
yeah,
people on
definitely
conservatives.
that
And I enjoyed listening to the
his
conservatives sometimes more than liberals
high
because they were
point,
more
you know,
entertaining, just being honest.
Look,
the prime.
Fine. Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
But one thing I respected about Joe in that
That's a
era
classic one.
is that even if he had a conservative on, he would push back. He
Yeah.
would push back on his ideals. And
Oh, I loved hearing him push
And if
back.
you
That's
don't
why I
believe me,
like the
look at
conservative
what
ones
happened when
sometimes
Ken
the most
Sutherland
because
she started yapping away.
oh yeah, the
and stuff like
Canadian
that.
one's a
Joe didn't let her off
classic.
the hook, and I don't think she's been back on since.
Nope.
Climate is forever changing. Like that's the problem, is that people are making it seem like that's something weird.
Although
It's not
that's
unique.
not
okay,
you're
he could probably have her
When
back
Stephen
on.
Crowder
I'm
came
assuming.
on,
I
they
don't
started
know,
talking
maybe
about
not.
how weed is a devil and all this stuff, and Joe let him have it. It was one of their biggest, spats.
Traffic fatalities regarding marijuana have skyrocketed.
Oh, this one's a classic too.
Google that.
Speaking
It's
of, in
nonsense.
honor.
It was revealed in the WikiLeaks memos.
See, this is where I was saying
It was,
I don't
hold
care
on,
about
don't
this.
interrupt me, you fuck.
But at the same time, he would not shy away from disagreeing with liberals on things that were important. He had Jamie Kilstein. You know who that is?
No.
Short guy, white guy with glasses. He was part of like a lot of the Me Too stuff, and Joe let him have it. Joe unloaded on the dude.
You know that that's worse than saying, wouldn't it be funny if someone just him?
That's not worse.
It is worse. Murder's worse.
Murder's way worse than.
Murder is worse than man.
I don't think we can have this conversation.
You're
man.
crazy. You would rather be murdered than.
Probably top 3 biggest fights Joe's ever had on the
Ooh.
podcast. Yes. Joe.
Actually, I kind of side with the other dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather be honest. I'd rather it be ended. Maybe that's me personally. I'm just saying. I'd rather. I mean, that's me. Anyways.
Was pushing back on what?
A lot of the Me Too stuff at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not to say that Joe was wrong about pushing back in general. But that specific one?
So, funny enough, he's changed his tune. But that's a tape for a different day. Remember that guy who does Adam Hates Everything or something like that?
Yes.
He brought that dude.
Oh,
and
yep.
He was letting him have it too.
That was a
So
good
you think that
example.
males should be
This
able to
is a
compete in the women's division of weightlifting,
No, I don't necessarily.
but they can if they transition.
Well, first of all,
So you would see that Joe would have people from all ends of the political spectrum, but he was always not shy about pushing back. And that's
For me, it'd
something
be
that
about
I
like
see
an
you guys
identity
do.
thing. It's
Yes. I think
you got
I
specific
tuned
things
out of
like
the
that where it's
podcast
like,
actually before COVID, like
but you have to be
2018,
careful,
2019.
sure.
I started tuning out a little
I
bit.
do
That's
think
more so when the IW phase
But
started, which if you don't know, the
that was a
IW
good one,
is
Joe.
called
Especially with those specific
the
examples. Those were
intellectual dark web. Okay, super nerdy. I thought it was one of the gayest titles I've ever seen. It essentially is Comic-Con for niggas with doctorates. You got a degree? You a big fucking nerd?
Comic Con doctorates. Oh my god. That I'm dead. That I'm dead.
Reject, come join us. It was like that.
Gotcha.
So you had like Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, I think Ben Shapiro, maybe.
No,
Joe
I don't think
Rogan,
Penn was
couple
ever a
other
part of it
Some of
officially.
them have already left, but it was a really cringe movement, in my opinion. But I
You're
saw
not wrong
Joe,
per
all of a
se,
sudden,
no.
a lot of reoccurring guests would start appearing, and a lot of them all leaned to the right. That was like, it was a reoccurring theme, and a lot of them were grifters.
Oh,
Like
that
Bill
was the
Ruben,
problem with
he's
it.
not allowed
That
on
was
the
the problem
podcast
with the
anymore.
dark web
He's
thing
big,
with so
big,
many
big.
grifters.
And Joe's talking shit about him, but you would see these people that would start coming on.
What year was that?
It's got by 2018, 2019.
I think that
Timeline
sounds
will
about
go
right.
roughly. But I think when I really saw
Sounds about
Joe,
right, give or take
you
some
know,
years.
I could not watch episodes anymore, was definitely after the pandemic. And to be fair, I understand why. You know, legacy media definitely did Joe dirty with how they covered him with COVID.
Yeah, a drug that has been shown to stop viral replication in vitro. You know that, right? Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer? I can afford people medicine, motherfucker. This is ridiculous. It's just a lie.
Yeah.
But
When he had him, once he had him on, because before I was like a little bit okay, I don't know, but yeah, once he had him on,
After that, it was never the same.
yeah.
The podcast, like every time, it would always just be some spiel about conservative stuff, and there would be.
That's
zero
was the
pushback.
initial,
People
I
would
think.
Correct him sometimes. You'd be like, "Oh, okay."
That
I
got
didn't
him
know that." You just
going.
move on. But I'm like, bro, you were just spreading lies for a good like 2-3 minutes. You get fact check, and there's no introspection. All this stuff that you'd always encourage. Like you are not looking at your biases because, in an odd way, Joe's the reason why I think part of the reasons why I became such an introspective person. But I feel like he's lost a lot of those qualities now that he's in this phase of his life for the last 4 or 5 years. That's what it feels like when I watch the pod now.
I can't understand why. And anyways, keep on going.
No, I've been talking for a long time. So
The dates corroborate. And then COVID happened, and they really exaggerated everything. They basically lied. So he was doing for all this time this work where he was trying to do like the just thing, where you're supposed to see both sides of the spectrum. You're supposed to see like the two sides of the coin and stuff like that. But I've seen this happen a couple of times now, where people from your camp ostracize you so bad because you disagree on one little thing. Like you're not able to even be like, you said it yourself. He's the guy that was, introspective. He was doing introspective, and he was asking questions. And let me just question myself, because I'm not sure that we're necessarily. And it's good to ask.
I mean, there's a reason why this guy's called Preach. But no, I see where he's going. I think with this, it's like, yeah, In fact, we want to take it back a few.
One little thing, like you're not
One little thing.
able to
Yeah, that
even be
one
like,
little
you
thing
said
is
it yourself.
important. Like,
He's the guy that
as
was,
long as it's a little thing,
introspective.
he's
He
correct.
was
But
doing introspective,
sometimes
and he was asking
the
questions. And
problem, I think,
let me
subjectiveness
just question myself because I'm not sure
of
that
what's
we're
little or big.
necessarily. And it's good to ask the questions if we're going the right, like to see if we're going in the right direction.
Yes.
And he was, well, he is.
That's a good point.
Was a liberal, but those same liberal from his camp was like, nah, bro. They didn't try to cancel
I want to say
him. So yeah,
he's
that
kind of
is
always a little
very
libertarian
concerning. And I
leaning
do
too, because
believe
Ron
that
Paul
you're
and all
right.
that.
When you say that something changed, and I understand why it changed. It was so bad at some point how they were trying to, like, even the media that had nothing to do, that were not even talking about him. We're talking about, yeah, he should be canceled. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna say something that is really weird. The way they treated Joe was like if it was the first Andrew Tate. They were saying that he was like his views, and he should not be platformed.
I know, which is crazy. You can disagree with Joe, but
they were trying to dictate him what he tried to do with his platform. Just like,
why were they trying to talk about his platform?
Because they were not agreeing. They were not agreeing
Yeah.
with what he was saying, and they were saying that, oh well, no, that was before he switched.
you just gotta challenge his ideas. That's how you address Joe. Just challenge his ideas. Don't try to
It
cancel
was when
him.
he was doing the, ivermectin stuff. That's when everyone switched.
Yeah, but
before then they were not talking about.
But
him
was
that
he
much.
wrong?
Was he wrong about what he was saying?
Ivermectin? Yeah.
Yeah, some of the stuff he was definitely wrong. Yeah. And that's when he brought up that expert, the most viewed podcast he had.
Oh, yeah,
and that
yeah,
podcast was a
you-
game changer
yes,
because
yes,
that expert was on point.
I remember what you're saying.
Yeah.
To be clear, just what they lied about. They were calling it horse dewormer.
Yes.
And it's not. It's
And
not
that's what's
horse
important. As long
dewormer.
as he has the experts
It's not
on.
horse dewormer. It's not.
Uh-huh.
It's like saying an antibiotic is a horse dewormer if you use it at a certain dose. Sure, but the levels that humans use it for, it's not. So they were lying.
And because I feel like they were a bit on his case a bit before that when the Me Too stuff happened. That's where I feel like they started to be on his case a bit. It was not as bad because I was hearing some people. Oh yeah, I was hearing some people from the left talking about Joe Rogan being the devil and everything and stuff because he was like
Sure.
an enabler.
Yeah,
and
that's
he was
like the left, though. That's like the
what I
weird
heard
left.
personally from people in my sphere.
I don't call him the
I
far
think they
left. I
were-
call him
they
the
were-
weird
they were
left.
starting to flip there. It was not as bad as the ivermectin stuff, but I digress. All that to say, I can understand why he's changed. I mean, everything you do something for so long, it's gonna change. Even if you look at this channel, it changed over time. We started this channel. We were not even in the room. We were in
My channel's
we were
changed.
in the
So I feel
living
ya.
room. We're not even,
I'm actually doing this sort of stuff,
the
you know?
stance or the way that we gonna.
I was just doing
certain
dog
subjects are gonna change,
clips
and your
spiritual
way of
clips,
dealing with certain subjects,
which
as
I'll do
well is
more
gonna
of
change.
still.
It's bound to happen. I think
Yeah,
it's
but
normal.
we're not talking about change though. Like we changed. Did our core of what we do change? No. See, that's what I'm
Right.
talking about. That's why I said I understand change. I don't even mind that he's more of a conservative today than he was before. Me, it's the lack of curiosity that I used to see and the level of pushback that I was used to that he no longer has.
No, I concur.
See, so that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the essence. Like original Joe Rogan fans, the people who were there for a long time, most of them are gone. It's a new crop of fans who have really popped up, and you can tell by the comment section. You can tell by the type of people that are engaged. You can tell by the response to things. It's a completely different atmosphere, and even by some of the guests that he brings on, you could really feel the change. What was my point at the beginning? Joe Rogan changed my life, and now I'm embarrassed to say I was ever a fan. That's all I'm getting at.
Was that last part?
And now I'm embarrassed to ever say that I was true.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to be
most people's perception of Joe is
embarrassed.
Yeah, but you fell in love with something that was back then. So I wouldn't feel ashamed of what it was because it's not
exactly
we're not
preach.
talking about the same thing. When I understand that it changed and everything and stuff. It's like Kanye West. I'm not ashamed to be like I like Kanye West, the old Kanye West. When I'm saying that,
it's not like I'm ashamed. Like, oh my god, I'm saying like, it's just something I would never want to bring up. Whereas back in the past, I would have loved to bring that up. Oh, you know what? There's his podcast. I used to recommend his clips all the time. I used to recommend.
Oh, I know it's never went that far.
Exercise, knees over toes, guy. It was so good in terms of actual just knowledge in that regard. You know, the fact that it is what it is today is not something I decry all the time. I'm not over here like, oh my god, Joe. It's like I made dues with that 5-6 years ago. I accepted and just stopped watching it for the most part. So I've already moved on. I also think
I only just bring this stuff up because it's
political
content, you know.
diverse podcast space. that you
And I'm
have so
sure
many
for other people to
opportunities
kind
for
of be
you to
like,
go
yeah, me
watch
too.
people
You know,
and
I
learn
also have
things
this, and
and
also
like
just so
see
people
stuff
don't
that
feel like they're alone. You know,
the
it's
void that
okay.
Joe
It's
left has been
okay to
filled
feel
by
this
all
way
different
too,
kinds of
because a
people.
lot of
Also, one
people
thing that
do get
definitely
aggressive
changed that
about it
I
and be like,
personally wasn't
oh,
in,
girl,
in
keep
mind
watching Joe Rogan,
is
or
Joe
how dare
really
you
felt
not
like
like
the
Joe
everyday
Rogan
person. The
anymore?
way he talked about stuff, the way he advocated for things,
You know,
and
it's
even
like,
the people he used to bring on. It definitely felt like that. And now it feels like the billionaires club. Like in the last 2 years, I think I've seen more billionaires on Joe's podcast than he ever had in the last 20 years before then.
damn,
And it's just a weird feeling now.
that is
Where
weird.
these people get to come on, okay, get to do their PR spin for whatever they're advocating, from Mark Zuckerberg to Elon
Sure.
to the other banker
Yep.
guy, lie about a lot of stuff. And Joe's never there to have Jamie fact check a lot of it. Joe's not there to like push.
Yeah.
He's just lapping it up. And I'm just saying, the guy that I used to listen before would have been highly skeptical of these kinds of people. But now it's just so bizarre seeing him buddy up with everyone who's like incredibly rich. Like, I used to hear Joe always complain about Mark Zuckerberg. I used to hear him
Yep.
roast him. And now he's sitting in front of the dude, and the dude's just lying about shit, and Joe's just like, oh, okay.
The thing
Yeah.
That's an odd thing to me.
Yeah,
Yep.
I understand the feeling
Yep.
when you say like, oh yeah, you felt like the everyday dude.
He's
but
not wrong.
The reality is, he's not.
He was.
Yeah. Present tense. He's not. He's not. He's not a regular dude.
Sure.
He don't hang out with regular dudes. So maybe that's what happened. Or
That's
doing
exactly
the
what
UFC and
happened.
being-
Preach is on point. I think
maybe
Preach
that's
is
what they got an
cooking
excuse for
here.
him. I'm just saying, I'm trying to understand what happened and why it's like that. Maybe it's just the people that you get to
Yeah.
know, you get to know them, you get to talk to them, and then eventually you're like, oh, these people
Circles,
are not
echo
bad.
chambers.
And you get blinded by the lights.
It's that
I
simple.
guess.
Maybe.
Yeah, it is that
Maybe
simple.
that's
You
what
get,
it
it's
is.
just
I'm just saying,
we
the
all
guy
have
who was
biases
skeptical
with
of
the
government every
crowds
day,
that
just
we're
seeing him
around.
lap up what a bunch of billionaires say is just bizarre.
And I
to me.
mean,
The whole
this is why even like people encourage diversity in folks of, and it's people always say, oh, that they mean just by skin color. Blah. No. It's not just by these arbitrary things. It's just by like even just general viewpoints in general. I mean, with the exception of like very extreme, like fascistic, totalitarian, just nasty, evil type of ideologies, with the exception of evil like that, yeah, you be open. Be open to anything that is good. I mean, why not? Because if it's good, by definition, you should be open to it. Sorry, we're
point of
almost done.
legacy or independent media was to be a countercurrent to that voice. And it's like, okay. And now you're like yupping it up with guys who like own media companies and some of the biggest media companies.
What would you say to him?
What do you mean?
What would you say to Joe?
What would I say to him?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, aside of thank you, I'd probably be thankful for what he did in the past for me. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that doesn't erase the good. You can't erase the good, right?
That's
because
why you
I'm a
cannot
testament.
be ashamed of what he
No.
did in the past.
No, definitely still am. Because you're talking about an idealistic sense, but people's perception doesn't work that day. It's not because you explain it that people are understanding.
Yeah, I get you.
Like I'm pretty sure the people who knew Hitler when he was a kid are probably like, "Oh, he was so cool. Shut your fucking mouth," right? And I'm not saying he's. I'm not saying he's that.
I didn't say shit.
But you get what I'm trying to say? It's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. In an idealistic world, people look at you, but you're still going to get that judgment regardless.
Sure.
Yeah,
You could have said Kanye.
could have.
Same.
But I was just trying to illustrate the point. Yeah, you got what I was trying to say. For all the political stuff, one of his biggest faults is the fucking, the Rogan sphere comedians. Like what Cat Williams said, Joe Rogan and 7 comedians that were never funny, right?
That would be like me being on Joe Rogan. Joe don't want me on there. I need to be on Shannon. Joe got 6 comedians that never been funny. He want to push out.
That's a fact. But he'd always promoted them. I understand they're his friends.
That was a hard, ouch. Because even when Cat Williams said that, I'm like, yes, that's true, but there was a part of me that's like, ouch, it felt a little something, because I'm like, Joe's kind of my man, I do feel a little bit of that.
Would you have that replace?
But it's like, it's true.
I don't watch podcasts anymore.
Where'd you get your inspiration? And what do you consume that entice you to grow?
I think everyday life is like much more impactful for me now. So when you're a young man, what you lack is direction because you don't know yourself. So how do you know where you need to go? And what the podcast gives you is a lot of information, ideas for you to start exploring and try to figure out, like, how do I want to build this road? So you spend your 20s trialing things, changing direction. And then once you hit your 30s and you feel a little bit more confident, then you start, putting cement down, building out the sidewalk. You already know where you're trying to go. You're just moving in that direction. So I don't need to look towards the internet anymore for guidance in that regards. I feel like I have it and I've received it. Oh, well, listen, we did almost 40 minutes on this topic, so that went by like a breeze.
I did 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen.
I know he saved your life.
Thank you, Daddy Joe.
Okay, I think this account is.
I want to say thank you for the support of our merch.
That was a video I was going to react to, but I decided it's a little too long, so I probably shouldn't. But anyways, yeah. In conclusion, once again, I think it's pretty spot on. I feel like these guys have all displayed really good reasons why they don't, you know, at least, I think between Mr. Beat and Having Preach, they've all kind of nailed it. And I mean, it's just, yeah, it's beyond just them being more conservative and all this stuff. It's just deeper elements that's kind of just missing. A little bit of that childlike wonder, some of that curiosity. Not to say I wouldn't be watching an episode of his. I every so often will still check and see what's new and if there's any particular guests. I mean, I'm open to particular. If you had like Sadhguru on, I'll watch that. There's certain guests I think if he has on, I'll definitely be more inclined to watch. So I'm not necessarily I'm saying boycotting him or anything. It's just I want to say I'm like a fan, or at least not a fan in the same way. Anyways, I can see. I think this account is following me as a bot, but whatever. I'll deal with that later. I hope you all have a good one. If you like this content, please like the video, follow me on Twitch, and subscribe on my YouTube and all that happy jazz. Please and thank you. And I hope you all have a good day on YouTube. And just everywhere, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, be a good person, be loving. Peace.